You're now watching Q News. Here are the top stories for this hour. We start off with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi reviewing Egypt's efforts to implement the ceasefire agreement in the Gaza Strip, emphasizing Egypt's commitment to executing the agreement in its 3 phases to support stability in the region. On the sidelines of the Egypt International Energy Exhibition, Egypt's 2025, the Cypriot president was briefed on Egypt's ongoing efforts to develop a comprehensive proposal for the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip without displacing Palestinians or forcing them to leave their land. The 2 leaders reaffirmed the necessity of establishing a Palestinian state based on the borders of June 4, 1967, with East Jerusalem as its capital. "290 humanitarian aid trucks, including 23 carrying fuel, have entered the Al Rouja and Karm Abu Salim en route to Gaza. According to Al Qahira News, the aid convoy facilitated by Egypt includes food, tents, and other essential supplies to support displaced residents. U.S. President Donald Trump has reaffirmed his support for Israel's next actions in Gaza. Trump stated that he told the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to do whatever he wants as detainees releases between Hamas and Israel were negotiated. Hamas released 3 detainees before a key deadline. Trump indicated that Israel would determine the next steps in consultation with him. The Israeli occupation forces have arrested at least 25 Palestinians from the West Bank, including children and former prisoners. The Commission for Prisoners' Affairs and the Palestinian Prisoners' Society reported that the arrests took place in the governorates of Al-Khalil and Ramallah. Meanwhile, the occupation forces have continued to implement its aggression on the governorates of Jenin and Tulkarm for several weeks, which is accompanied by ongoing detentions and field investigations, as a number of detentions in Jenin and its camp since the beginning of the invasion has reached 160, while in Tulkarm and its camps the number of arrests has reached at least 130. An Israeli airstrike on a car in Sidon, a coastal city in southern Lebanon, has killed 1 civilian and injured 3 others. Israeli army announced that it assassinated Hamas operations commander in Lebanon, Mohammed Shaheen, in a joint operation with Shin Bet, targeting his vehicle in Sidon. The Israeli attack has raised further concerns over escalating tensions between the regime, Lebanon, and Palestinian factions in the region. An Israeli drone has dropped a hand grenade at a main square in the town of Kafr Shouba in southern Lebanon. According to the country's national news agency, the Israeli army is currently setting fire to a number of houses in the town of Atsiya near the border, where it has also burned homes in the past few weeks despite ceasefire with Hezbollah. Lebanese sources are also reporting that an explosion was heard in Yaroun in the south. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun has stated that Israel cannot be trusted and expressed concern over the possibility of a complete Israeli withdrawal on Tuesday. Aoun stressed that Lebanon's response would come through a unified national stance. He emphasized that war is not viable and that diplomatic channels would be pursued as Lebanon cannot endure another war. He also confirmed that the Lebanese army is prepared to deploy in villages and towns from which Israeli forces withdraw. European leaders have gathered in France for an emergency summit on Ukraine after the Trump administration announced it was opening talks with Russia on ending the conflict without a European presence. In recent days, U.S. President Donald Trump and his officials have upended what had largely been a united front between Washington and its European NATO allies in supporting Ukraine against Russia, which is nearing its 3rd anniversary. Trump's posture towards Russian President Vladimir Putin and comments from US officials on Ukraine and NATO has raised anxieties in Europe that Washington's vision for a swift end to the war would allow for key concessions to Russia. This concludes our top stories for this hour. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more updates here on Qnews.